you sure?
David Clarke had a religious experience while suffering the horrors on LSD on the 16th of January 1970, when Jesus Christ spoke to him. The Lord informed him that his bad experience on LSD was nothing compared to what hell was like. It was then that David learned to read to educate himself and turned his back on crime. Mick Clarke was Dave's older brother, and they were mods and became criminals in the 60s. Michael served time in Oxford Detention Centre on 2 occasions, and then Rochester Borstal. On Michael's release from Borstal, they were both sent to prison for malicious wounding and carrying a firearm without a licence. Michael was sent to Maidstone Prison, home of one of the Crays, and Dave, at the age of 17, was sent to Dover Borstal, an old haunt of Rod Stewart. It took David a year after his conversion to inform the police of his undetected criminal past, when he confessed to 24 crimes for which he was not sentenced. Having turned his back on crime and his criminal past, he read the Bible and a range of Christian literature. This was to educate himself. Dave went on to higher education, became a lecturer and a member of the Bearton Stricton Particular Baptist Church in 1976. He taught electronics for over 20 years at Luton College of Higher Education and Fareham College. The Bearton Particular Baptists were Calvinistic, and David was convinced that these truths were taught in the Bible and they differed from the Arminian teaching that was prevalent in many churches of his day. David was called by the Lord in 1982 to preach, and sent by the church to preach the gospel wherever the Lord opened the door for him to speak. He spoke in many churches in England. David seceded from the Bearton Church in 1984 over matters of conscience and experienced many life-changing difficulties. However, in 1995, David heard the shocking news of his brother of his arrest and imprisonment in the Philippines. Then, 5 years later, with some 30 years after David's own conversion, in September 2000, Michael too was converted from crime to Christ and was baptized as a Christian in New Bilibid prison. It was then that David felt compelled to write his story entitled Converted on LSD Trip, and to go on a mission to bring assistance to Michael and to celebrate his conversion. This followed by a further mission to preach to many convicted criminals in the jails of the Philippines in 2002. Sadly, Michael died of tuberculosis in New Bilibid prison before their vision of bringing practical help to many was realised. The fuller story is told in David and Michael's joint book, Trojan Warriors. It was by chance that during that Philippine mission, on the 22nd of December 2002, that the last of the Bearton Church members died. David remained the sole active Bearton Church member, but this was ignored and denied by certain men, and the chapel was sold against David's wishes. This full story is told in David's book, Bearton Strict and Particular Baptists. David, of course, realises that God does not dwell in temples made by hands, and even though the Bearton Church chapel has been sold by these religious men, he continues his ministry and commission. One recent project has been to turn his story into a punk rock opera called Borstal Boy, which was designed and has been designed to be performed in the prisons of the UK, and also the life story of his brother as a mod musical called Borstal Boys. Please circulate this video among your friends, asking them to email us or join our Facebook group, Borstal Boys Mod Musical, and asking them to pass it on, so that we can gather a list of interested people who would like to see the performances, so we can keep them all informed of our work.